Perry Peacock here with Wilderness Innovation, and here to show you a little scenario, I guess I could say. The temperature is not as cold as it has been, but I want to get out and show you a little tip or that you could use if you have one of our ponchos. And you know, many times, as you can see here, about a week or so ago, the snow depth here was a couple of feet, and now it's, you know, getting skimmed right down there. You know, oftentimes in the wintertime you have scant snow, or sometimes not any snow, and yet you could have a nice clear sky and it could be 20 or 30 below zero. So it's you know, how do you deal with that situation with minimum resources? So let me show you a little tip using our poncho, a painter's plastic, and a space blanket, and show you how we can rig up something here that can really make a difference in the temperature range that you're dealing with when you're outside. This could really be a lifesaver at some times. Okay, now you can see that I've erected the shelter. I'm not done with it, but I've got the top ridge line done, and I'll show you in detail a little more about what I've done here. But what we're doing is we're creating a greenhouse, and we're using our PSS, our poncho. This is a PSSL long version. We're using our poncho for the strength. This painter's plastic has, you know, very little strength, but our poncho will bear the brunt of everything and hold the strength. This drapes over it to create a clear windshield for the sun's rays to come in, so that we trap radiant energy in here, just like in a greenhouse. And this allows us to be warm on a cold day, even without a fire or other external means, as long as you've got some sunshine. Alright, so now I've got it set up. I've pulled my back of the poncho back on the back end and used the tie-out tabs back there to stake back the back end in 3 places. And then I'll show you in a minute, I've hooked on to the hood back there, the hood drawstring, and tied it off to the tree back there, then pulled back. So that gives me, instead of inside on the back wall, instead of just a straight diagonal line, it pulls back and it gives me a lot more space in here if I want to sit up or anything like that. This shelter is heating inside right now, just with what I've done here. Now I would point out, you can see there's snow inside of there. Normally in a survival type situation, I would cut a bunch of boughs from the junipers or that around here and put me a nice pad of a foot or so deep of boughs in here to get onto, but the area I'm in, that's restricted, so I'm just demonstrating without, and I'm just telling you, if you've watched some of our other videos, you've seen how we lay out the boughs and everything like that inside of a super shelter. So we're creating a super shelter out of one of our ponchos and a little just $3 piece of painter's plastic. This one here, I believe, is I think it's like 8 by 12 or something like that. I don't know. but that gives me you know, a good little shelter in here. The poncho is what's taking the pull from holding the ridge line up, and we've just got the painter's plastic just tied in with the poncho, so the poncho takes the strain. Down here in the bottom, just like you've seen on our other super shelters, we put some logs. If I were going to make a stay here, I would take some snow around here and I'd bank the whole thing all the way around, bank it up with snow to seal it nicely, seal the bottom edges. And I'd leave that edge over there is going to be my door in the side, and I just wouldn't bank that up. I just use a piece of wood to hold that. So now one thing that we do get is we get sun coming down and hitting the snow on the ground, even though there's not that much of it here, and that light that radiant energy bounces off the snow in here as well. So you do get the direct sun coming through, and then you get the effect of the extra reflecting off the snow into there. It's kind of like, you know, if you have your car in the wintertime and it's really cold outside, you got it facing south, and you know how your car will heat up with radiant energy of the sun. We're doing the same thing right here with this just portable gear. Now there are a couple other things I can do to even enhance that more. Let me show you that. You know, you can easily be in a winter situation where it's cold, but almost no or sometimes no snow or very little snow, kind of like we have here. If you've got a good coating of snow, you get pretty good reflectivity of some extra solar energy into your shelter. But if you don't, these little emergency space blankets are very inexpensive, and they're basically disposable as far as I'm concerned. But if I'm going to take this thing and get it all unraveled here, there we go. Get that all done, and then I lay this out here, kind of settle down a little bit. I've got a little stick here and a few sticks around. I could throw a little snow on there, whatever, to kind of hold that down, whatever you want to do. You have some rocks, of course you can use rocks. And even with throwing some sticks on here, I would typically throw a little bit of some snow around too, just to, especially around the edges, just to keep the wind from catching up on an edge if the wind came up. So now I've increased how much solar radiation can bounce up into there. Of course, here again it depends on the angle of the sun. And we've got a pretty low angle of the sun, so that's going to go. I can see about 2.5 feet up. I can see a line right here where the light bouncing off of this thing is hitting right there. So we're bouncing right into there. So that's a way to enhance what's going on inside of there. Okay, now let's say if you don't have a painter's plastic or something. Oh, this right here is a clear garbage bag, 55 gallon. And I can use that to do the same thing. Just cut the bottom off and slit one side. It'll open up flat. Now it won't drape clear over the top like this does, but you can tie it off along the front or pin it with some easy clips or whatever you might want to use. And you could clip this on also in an emergency to give you some a clear deal besides a painter's tarp. But painter's tarp, like I say, I think this was about $3.50, and you just make sure you get clear instead of white, bottom or white. But, so let me show you a couple other things. I just poked my head inside, and it's got to be at least 75 in there. It's pretty toasty. Okay, so here I am inside of here, and I wouldn't want it to be any warmer in here. It would be unbearable. I'm getting to feel a lot of energy off that space blanket I threw out front, and just a tremendous amount of energy coming straight in here from the sun. And even with this, well, I just barely opened it up, but even with the door open on this side, it is, I'm sure at head level here it's probably 80 or 85 degrees in here. Even down at ground level, it's very cozy, very comfortable. And like I said, if I had I just threw that clear garbage sack on the ground to sit on here, but even sitting on the snow right here, it's so warm, so hot in here. It actually feels good to sit on something cold for a little bit. So here we can take something that can dramatically change your experience outside. Just utilize. I take my poncho with me everywhere. That's a piece of my shelter that I always have. And if you just throw in a painter's tarp and one or two of these space blankets, why, you can dramatically change your life. Now, here's the deal. Now everybody will be saying, well, that's all fine and good, but at nighttime there's no sun. I'm going to freeze to death in here. Well, in the worst circumstances, what you want to do, the important thing is you want to try to get your 8 hours or so a day of good sleep. So, if this were the case, what I would do is I would sleep during the day. I'd sleep during the day in here when I've got, even if it's only partly cloudy or, off and on, I'd sleep in here during the day when it's warmer and I can sleep good. And then during the night, I could be up piddling around, doing whatever, proving shelter, gathering wood if I need to do that or whatever, just walking around. Because you want to make sure you get your sleep. And a lot of times people get hindered by feeling like, well, it's nighttime, I need to sleep. It's daytime, I need to be up. But there are conditions where you want to sleep in the day when you can take advantage of solar radiation like this and be able to be nice and warm and cozy. Now I've monitored some situations like this, and I've seen easily 70 and 80 degree differences in temperature inside of here versus outside. So if it's chilly outside, you get into something like this. This could be the difference between life and death at times, or at least allowing you to get a good nice sleep or whatever, versus a fitful cold rest or whatever. So yeah, this is I've got to get out of here. It's about too hot. All right, let me just show you some other views of the setup here. I've got my my reflective blanket out front. Now then, right here, there's a couple ways you can tie off. This is the tab that's on the. There's 12 of them around the poncho, so this is one of the tabs right there. And what I did, I just put a rock inside of there, and then I pulled my plastic off and I spaced it evenly so it overhangs the poncho on either side. And then I just kind of balled it up in there, and then this is just a lark's head basically over the top of there, holding that in place. So you see the plastic is tight, but the poncho's taking all the stress and the strain. I showed you on the other side how I tied that off. I put a rock in the tie-out tab on the poncho and then put everything over that and tied off to the lark's head. This side here, what I did is I actually made a sheet bend out of my parachute cord and the tab that comes off the poncho. Even back here along the back edge of the tarp, I would bank all that with snow as well, just so we kind of seal it up. Especially the colder it gets, the more sealed up you want to be. Now, I usually always, this is the hood on the poncho, and I usually always, when I set up a lean-to with a poncho, pull back on where the hood is so it gives me more room inside. And all I've done is, this is the drawstring that pulls the hood down. I just tightened it up and tied a cord to that and then tied it off to a tree back here behind me to pull out. It gives me another 1.5 feet or so of headspace in there. If you've watched some of our other super shelter videos, you see you can take a space blanket. You see the tan backside here. This is our This is our woodland camo with tan blackout on the underside, and that's why it's tan colored here. That light color really lightens it up inside of there and gives a little bit of reflectance too. But if you watch any of our other videos, you can see that you can duct tape or use some of our easy clips, and you can clip another space blanket, emergency blanket, inside of there on the roof line, so that you get a bounce down effect from more radiant energy. And so I mean, there's a lot of options, a lot of different ways you can throw this thing out, but this is very, very, very simple. Well, so yeah, there you go. A little bit about the poncho. Yeah, if you see, I wear this poncho probably considerably more than most people would think of throughout the winter and everything. Even right now, you know, I'm just wearing the poncho. It's not that bad out here, but the poncho can give you 10-15 degrees temperature increase just from wearing the poncho over whatever you got on, just because it helps contain the environment inside the core of your body and preventing wind and such from getting at you and driving out heat and that sort of thing around your body. So I love the poncho, man. I got it all the time, always with me. As you see here today, just add a couple little things and you got yourself a nice little shelter. Really, in a very, very nice way.